And guys, this is going to be live on the Goblins vs. Gnomes patch, which means we get to see some cool decks and probably a lot of handlock as I I look already at the opening hands, at least for Kunzi and Wampy. And you know, I'm going to be predicting that handlock is going to be one of the most popular decks, especially since it seems like people are shying away from being able to play. Well, I mean, Hunter's still really good. But it seems like handlock's been gaining a lot of really good tools like Antique Healbot, which is one of them. Dark Bomb is a good replacement for Soulfire. And generally speaking, it feels like handlock's really good, and people are shying away from being able to take on handlock directly in their matchups. Even though everyone's playing, like, thinking about playing BGH, it feels like handlock's still really powerful, granted all the tools they got from GVG. I definitely expect people to bring Hunter as well. I'm actually really scared because for a second, I thought I was playing because I was about to click. I was like, oh, gonna miss the mulligans. But of course, this is spectator mode, so hopefully we'll be able to hop on the screens. As I believe Wampy also has to invite me.
I greet you.
Oh, that's how you do it. Oh, okay, cool, I got it. Wow, neat. Technology, bitch. Alright, so, looks like Wampy's getting ready to show me a magic trick. Is that your card? Is that your card? I don't know. So, handlock versus handlock was the original way to start things off. The good thing is I can mouse over these to try and give you guys a better picture because upside down actually makes it really difficult to keep track of. So, handlock versus handlock, again, has gotten pretty funky. I know Joey got #1 ranked legend in North America, and then we just had a post this morning about a European getting #1 rank for the entire region as well. And a lot has to do with the consistency of handlock. Once again in Hearthstone, whichever deck can draw more cards while being able to maintain an appropriate power level according to the curve is going to be really strong. I love the inclusion of Zombie Chow because it's such a good answer to things like Hunter as well as any kind of early shenanigans from Zoo. Those are the two most common culprits you'll see, although I even feel like Zombie Chow is decent against the mech openings too, like Clockwork Gnome as well as even anyone playing that 1/2 that gains +2 when mechs are out. Like, those are really annoying. Zombie Chow is really resilient to it. Not to mention, on turn 5, it does give you a viable Shadow Flame play. But that said, I think Kunzi is feeling like he's pressured to try and put out something immediately. Even though this Twilight Drake is going to get answered, he had nothing else to do on turn 3 other than Ancient Watcher. He didn't have a Giant or anything else, so I think it's a really appropriate move. Now, with handlock versus handlock, it's very swingy, and I'm looking at cards like Black Knight and BGH in Wampy's hand. This is BGH, by the way. Yeah, it's a little hard for me to kind of keep up to with all the pictures upside down. I'm not used to this either. So with BGH, it's going to be super swinging if a Giant gets plopped down, but Big Game Hunter, I feel like is a bigger swing card than Black Knight because of how mana efficient it is. You can remove a Giant effectively. Black Knight is really good at also removing annoying threats, such as Sludge Belcher, so it's like more versatile, not to mention that its body is a little bit more durable. But overall, not having a BGH or an easy response to this Giant is going to make it very difficult, as Vampy does pick up another Sun Fury Protector here. How the hell am I supposed to read these cards upside down? Oh my goodness. Maybe if I was tied to times and I could do a handstand, I could definitely cast this match. Ooh, Recombobulator. Okay, so Recombobulator is a really neat card because it can heal your Giants. Pretty much no card really costs the same as a Molten Giant, so anything that costs 20 would be a replacing of it, which means a Molten Giant. You'll heal it. It also gives flexibility for any tech cards, like say you have a Black Knight and you Recombobulate it. It has a high chance of turning into like a legendary or a really solid card like a Boulder Fist Ogre. And you get some pretty good stats and mileage. Not to mention, it again is a pretty decent body to Shadow Flame if it is necessary because it has 3 attack. So for 6 mana you can get some good mileage out of it. Alright, so Recombobulator on the Mountain Giant. Turns into a Mountain Giant, like we said. It's pretty much a foregone conclusion because there's no other cards that cost around that mana slot. And this is a pretty strong board. Coming in for Wampy. Oh, sorry, not Wampy. Thunderbuddy. Overlay is correct. I'm incorrect, but you guys will get used to that very soon. So you can remove a minion off the board with Siphon Soul. That's the first play that comes immediately to mind. You're still not under a super amount of pressure to the point where you're worried about dying. So if he lowers your health with just the Drake and the Recombobulator, you have double Molten Giant plus a Shadow Flame, so you have an ability to go for swing. And I actually think Siphon Soul here is perfectly fine. Not ideal though, because again, you're giving initiative to your opponent on board, and he can do really funky things. Lotheb pickup is interesting too, because a few people, actually a lot of players, feel like Lotheb's they're replacing Lotheb just because they feel like they want to try out new cards, and he's one of those flexible spots where you don't really need him. He's just really powerful, especially in this matchup, because you don't have the opportunity to go for power plays until late stages in the game. Like Shadow Flame costs 9 mana. So if you try to go for a swing turn like Handlock usually is accustomed to in this matchup, then you're going to be in big trouble if Lotheb locks you out prematurely. Alright, well, Lotheb does come down here. I really don't see a stronger play other than Sludge Belcher, which is pretty good. Lotheb does give him a chance to potentially go for major damage. Let's see, he's got 12. Hellfire is 15. I'm peeking over to see if there's any other way to do damage. So looks like he just wants to generally have a strong board. And Kunzi's going to take a defensive stance, which is perfectly fine again. He doesn't have initiative cards. He's got reactive cards. He's got Molten Giants when he gets low. He's got Dark Bomb to do some extra damage, a la Soulfire. And he's got Black Knight. These are very responsive cards. He has to wait for Vampy to, god damn it, from Thunderbuddy to overextend or play incorrectly here. The reason why I keep saying this is because Vampy is actually the account that Thunderbuddy has to use because he doesn't have all the GVG cards. But don't tell Blizzard that. Alright, so Mortal Coil being picked up. That is a little bit useful if he wants to get rid of one of these Ancient Watchers and pick up another card. Using Argus to try and Shadow Flame and not buffing another target. That is really interesting. And I was a little curious as to why not, but I think it's because he's playing around Black Knight, and that's really clever. Like, at first glance, I'm like, well, why do you want to not taunt and power up your Drake? But as a result, look at it, you still can't deal with this Drake, so Thunderbuddy very astutely recognizes that if he doesn't have the Black Knight, or if he does have the Black Knight, it's now still just a vanilla 4-5, and he doesn't give a way for your opponent to swing the board. Because again, this matchup, very pendulum-oriented, easy to just go one way or the other. But now Kunzi's finally within Molten range. Another subtle thing that I don't know if Thunderbuddy exactly planned for, but ends up being the case is that because he didn't buff up the Drake and when it attacked it left him at 15. If he was at 14 health, he would have been able to play double Giant or do like Giant Shadow Flame or something. Like he would have had more mana at his disposal. Whether or not that's the optimal play is a different story. Wow, this is actually really tough the more I look at it. Like Molten Giant doesn't ensure your safety, so if you just Dark Bomb and try to take power off the board, he still has 6. Can he burst you down from 9 damage? Not without Soulfire, you can't. And Soulfire has been rotated out of the metagame as far as I know in terms of handlock. Before, the Soulfire costing 0 was so effective because on turn 4 you'd be able to Twilight Drake or Mountain Giant and then Soulfire a threat. Like your opponent might have like SI7 agent if it's Rogue, or if it was an Animal Companion, you'd be able to Soulfire it no matter what. But now, because it costs 1 mana, it effectively feels like 3 mana 4 damage, like a really bad Shadow Bolt, because you have to life tap to compensate. Handlocks really depend on the size of their hand. Here's that Big Game Hunter coming out and making a pretty big surprise, but not really that much because, again, this version of Handlock with Zombie Chows and BGH has been terrorizing the ladder for the past few days. The Double Mortal Coil is interesting, though. I'm not sure if Double Mortal Coil is exactly the mixture that is very popular. I think that's more of a stylistic choice because Mortal Coil is great against aggro. You can remove a lot of those 1 health creatures that are really annoying, especially on turn 1. Alright, a Restraint from Vampy. Oh, God! Thunderbuddy. All right, you know, I'm gonna be really apologetic. I'm gonna queue up Thunderbuddy right now on Skype and apologize for calling him Boppy so many times. All right. Well, what's done is done. All right, Kunzi going for Shadow Flame, and you know, this is so indicative of not having Owl. This Drake has been so annoying for so long. Like, what? I mean, this Drake is also like insurance of 4 damage, so you're counting down from 13 minus 4 the entire time. So 9 damage once again. Jiraxis is in hand, and he comes out, and I don't think there's an easy way to respond to this Jiraxis, especially since BGH won't be able to target to Infernals whatsoever. And the Blood Fury is going to be so much damage coming out. I don't think he cares about Molten Giants anymore. He already saw 1. This is definitely an assumption you're allowed to make in this matchup. When you see 1 Molten Giant, you can go with the assumption that's like, well, even if he has a second Molten Giant, at least he can't play like 2 and Shadow Flame 1 and then destroy my board. And also, it's a less likelihood. 13 cards remain. Pretty strong chance that Molten Giant number 2 is potentially in the bottom third of his deck. Although I don't know the percentage, you'd probably have to ask someone like Firebat for that. Alright, well, he taps. That is a bold move, but of course he has the Antique Healbot. Still no way to deal with this Drake. That's like the ultimate thing on his mind. It's like, well, if he runs a card like Power Overwhelming, which we see in Kunzi's hands, like, how much am I at risk for? What am I even taunting? Am I taunting both these? Am I taunting just the Molten? These are all questions that are going through his mind. I'll have to go with the most defensive route possible, but I'm trying to calculate if there's some kind of lethal with Hellfire. But it looks like he's a few damage points short. Right? Let's see. Yes. Even if he barrages or barreled his way through with Siphon Soul and Hellfire, he would be 2 damage off lethal. You know, when you say it like that, it doesn't have quite the same ring, so I can understand why Forcing coined the 1 damage thing. Alright, well, cool, I never knew you could spin this wheel a little bit faster. Thunderbuddy is in big, he's in a big lead right here. He has great post-Jiraxis hand, which is often the #1 thing that you're concerned about. As much as getting Jiraxis out is great, if you have like 2 or 3 cards in your hand, you often can get outpaced by your opponent just life tapping still and being able to regenerate life, get through his deck a little bit quicker. Sure, you have the access to the Infernals, but ultimately you want to make sure to have a good support hand for Jiraxis. Ways to gain health, for removal, AoE, defensive,ness, and he's got it all. Really interesting sequencing by Thunderbuddy. I think that was improper sequencing. If he attacked the Antique Healbot first and then Siphon Soul, he'd be back up to 15. Either that, or he says he wants to get closer to his Molten Giants if he draws it. Either way, Thunderbuddy still looks to be in a good spot. Finally going to taunt that Twilight Drake, which is going to make him more susceptible to Black Knight. So there finally could be an opportunity for Black Knight to come out. But here comes a bigger question. When does Kunzi have the time? Or actually, is he even dead? If he Black Knights, does he die? And I think it's a very high chance to, because if he Black Knights and even Dark Bombs the Sunfree Protector, there's 9 damage remaining plus the Hellfire, so that's 12. And I think that's going to do it for game number 1. So despite a pretty early board seize from Kunzi with that coin Twilight Drake, he had no chance to come back whatsoever, just because he didn't have an answer to that Twilight Drake of his opponents. And that just goes to show you again how important the board is in these mirror matchups. Alright, so that's going to do it for game number 1. And I am realizing right now that we don't have a transition screen, so we're going to hang on to this defeated sign for a little bit. Hope you guys don't lose too much morale from the negative clouds and the rain. But I'm going to change the score. I am handling the production. I'm no Milkcast, but I am growing some facial hair to try to honor him. As collectively the Twitch chat dance games me. Who is Milkcast? Alright. 1. And what a story it's been, too, because as you guys saw with posts from, I believe it was Kaldi before he joined Fnatic, there was a little bit of incidents making sure that this tournament would get through in terms of making sure the records were straight and everything else. So that's why there were some delays. But ultimately, we're pretty happy to bring it to you. And I know the TateTV guys have been working pretty hard to make sure that this is possible. And I'm actually glad the stream hasn't crashed yet. I have the delay set up. And I'm looking at it, and it looks like for the most part, it's all things are green. We're gonna go to Handlock versus the Warrior, as once again, Vompi very generously, Thunderbuddy, very generously showing us his hand. And that is a monstrous hand, oh my goodness. The only thing that could have made it even a little bit better was instead of this Molten Giant, have a Dark Bomb, so that way he can respond to any kind of early threat. The fact that he has Ancient Watcher with the Owl, early game presence card, a way to fill out the curve on turn 3 and tap, while being able to play Twilight Drake on 4. This is bananas. Not to mention that Kunzi also doesn't have the greatest opening hand to respond to this, because his armor will get taken out. Sunfury Protector coming in hand. This is getting increasingly worse for Kunzi. And if he doesn't draw an answer quick, like if without like executes or actually, Slam is pretty decent too. Like, Slam allows him to piece together an ability to answer this Ancient Watcher. Like, playing the Acolyte of Pain is asking for, like, a Mortal Coil play of some kind. I just fill out the curve, though, a little bit better. And then you could Slam and do something else. I guess Acolyte's fine since you have 2. You need a draw. Either way, you get a draw out. And, of course, this is where we were talking about how it's so devastating to be able to fill out the curve with Zombie Chow. Keep up the pressure. Now, of course, an interesting question is how do you approach this Acolyte? Because the more I think about it, the more problematic it was. Because I was worried from Kunzi's behalf if he had Mortal Coil, because then he could protect this Ancient Watcher. But now that Wampi doesn't have it, it's like a cross your fingers for no execute. But he has Death Spite as well, so Death Spite also is an opportunity to be able to answer it. So, not as bad, but still, there's going to be more pressure coming in for these 4-6 Drakes. I believe they're 4-6. And how do you deal with it? I suppose you would Slam. Hope you guys didn't hear that, but there's a lot of ambulances going out across. Probably sending it straight to Kunzi's house, because he's still in for a world of pain here. Because as much as you can Slam and use your Whirlwind effect to try and pick off this Owl here, you're still going to be taking lots of damage, and then another Drake will follow it up, or even Lotheb. Because now that you've already used your second charge of Death Spite here, how will you be able to respond? This is really interesting. There is a restraint, though, from Thunderbuddy. And he taps. He wants him to commit to the Zombie Chow, using the Sun Fury to also force an attack onto the Iron Beak Owl. So this is an interesting play that I didn't consider, because I always know every single Handlock player just auto slams down the Twilight Drake against the Warrior as fast as possible. How annoying is this, by the way? The fact that the Owl has to take the first hit, so you can't use its Whirlwind effect to do collateral damage, or not collateral, cleave damage? Collateral damage! Oh, Frodan. Oh, that's not a bad draw either. Allows him to get through this Owl and effectively clear the board. And gain back some health. So, this opening has stabilized a lot from Kunzi, but he did utilize a couple of important tools. You know, you do want to have Death Spite to pick off those really annoying 5 health minions or above. You want to utilize it to get executes off as well. And he has 2 of his primary ways to activate execute out of his arsenal right now. Arsenal. It's 10 a.m. in the morning, guys. I didn't have coffee. I had half a glass of water and my vitamins. Those execute procs are really important, because sometimes you don't get them, and well, you have executes, but you have nothing to do. You might have to shield slam execute sometimes if the situation calls for it. And we do have Sludge Belchers, you have High Health Drakes, you have even Lotheb in this deck now that you're aware of. And this is what Thunderbuddy wanted from the very beginning, saying, you know, as much as I could try and load up the board in pressure and do damage, I'm going to try to play really conservative with my resource, so he's going for the resource advantage. And unfortunately, there's no easy way to deal with this Lotheb immediately. But he can try and see if he can play a little bit more responsive. Sylvanas feels very weak because Sylvanas is also another answer to a giant. Although, I'm interested to see how Kunzi has built his warrior, because post-GVG, there's a lot more answers now to kill off giants other than just Shield Slam and Executes. We have Bouncing Blade, which is the 3 mana deal damage until it kills a minion. And then you have Crush, which is another way to do like half execute, half tempo play. I mean, it's a really powerful tempo play if you're removing a creature that's really big, but of course you always run the risk of having it cost 7, and it's like, well, it basically costed my entire turn and I armored up. I'm not sure if I'm sold on cards like Crush yet, but Bouncing Blade is pretty sick. Yeah, Sylvanas here like feels like one of your better responses, and I'm in favor of saving it. Armorsmith isn't even generate much value. In fact, it's getting to the point where people are willing to cut Armorsmiths from their deck because they have Shield Maidens now, which give you that 5 armor and the 5/5 body in all one package in a battle cry. It's actually crazy. If you go ahead and look at her up, the cards and the stats, it's very high value because you get so much life from it that an Armorsmith effectively gains you some life because of the 4 health, and sometimes it takes 2 hits or something, so you get like 6 health. But the Shield Maiden, if you look at her collective stats, give you like 10 health plus, so that's just an amazing card. If you have 2 of those, you might not be hurting for Armorsmiths anymore. It depends though, to each their own. Back over to Thunderbuddy land. When will he play his big threats like the Drakes? Seems like he also has the opportunity to silence and force Warrior to fight on lower resource counts. Okay, opting not to, instead playing Recombobulator on his Lotheb. I'm feeling a Sludge Belcher. No, an ETC! Well, I guess it's effectively like a heal on the body because ETC's Battle Cry is not going to be in effect. Although, I feel like it's really fitting that Thunderbuddy got the ETC considering the lightning and everything like that. Alright, so Kunzi has the Sylvanas, which has higher impact now. And I suppose this is a really easy assumption to make, where he didn't Owl and silence your Acolyte of Pain. So it's like, well, should he have the silence for my Sylvanas? Probably not, but this is where saving that silence will pay off in spades. It's like when you flip that Monopoly card and it says bank error in your favor. Actually, that's not true. That's more like if someone ropes or misplays. Like, I would assume it's more of like the bank dividends have paid off. I didn't understand the word dividends until I was 14, where I finally decided to look it up after getting the Monopoly card. In before everyone compares how Monopoly is less RNG than Hearthstone. Alright, picking up the Shadow Flame, that's also a pretty important card. Generally speaking for Handlock, but I'm not sure how much is important in this matchup. It's very rare for the Handlock to be clearing the board of like warriors in mass, because they're usually playing like 1 bomb at a time. Like 2 or 3 minions is at most what you have. So Shadow Flame sometimes is like the answer, but not really that important at the moment until like the late stages of the game where like they're trying to hold off on doing damage and you might have an opportunity to go for a big clear. So Kunzi gets the bad news that Owl is still here, and that is the second Owl, which means if he's playing Ysera or something else, he just has to have direct removal. Execute comes in hand, which is pretty nifty. Is there an alternative, though? Because he does have other ways to deal with the board at the moment. I don't think he has the mana to, though. Everything seems just slightly out of range. At least when I eyeball it. Baron Geddon can sweep off 2 of these minions. Shield Maiden, it's weak. I guess you could Shield Maiden, Whirlwind, Shield Slam. That's also pretty weak. Baron seems like a reasonable response. And choosing to execute the Drake also is pretty important too. You do have that Shield Block, Shield Maiden, Shield Slam Dream on turn 10. Oh, second Shadow Flame. Blech. Gonna have to tap for sure. Needs to develop something else besides this Drake. And, well, if that wasn't annoying enough, the fact that he drew Mountain Giant really late, it also cost 7 mana at the moment, and he only has 6. Don't worry, Thunderbuddy, I'll snap a few vines. There we go, we showed them. Smash all the things. The only way I can feasibly see to destroy this Baron, which is a legitimate threat, is to Argus and attack. The problem is, 1, that feels really bad, and 2, you do give up one of your main taunters, which might be your only defense, because keep in mind that one of the best ways for Handlock to win the War of Attrition is to be able to defend against any Grommash. Like, one of the ways Warrior had a way to win the matchup before GVG came out was to try to burst them out early. And so to utilize your taunters this early feels really bad. But you do have, I think, 1 more Defender of Argus, maybe? Because he did use an early Sunfury Protector with that Ancient Watcher combination, right? No, with that the Ironbeak Owl. He wanted to use it for the Ancient Watcher, but didn't get a chance to. No Jiraxis in sight. There's only 14 cards. Maybe Blizzard could develop something in the future where I could pull out cards and see which, like, what would be the next card drawn. They asked me the other day, like, what would you like to see in Spectator mode, Frodo? And I said, I want to see what they have in MTGO, where after the game ends, both players draws the next 5 cards in their deck, just to show you what you would have gotten. So that way you can get confirmation bias that your opponent got lucky and you got unlucky. Mountain Giant Slam Down, which is the best play at his disposal. Sludge Belcher is asking for a Black Knight, which is pretty common in Warrior, since it allows him to save a weapon charge and a removal spot for annoying creatures like Sludge Belcher specifically. Shield Block into Sludge Belcher, but he will have to deal with that Giant. If he chooses to Shield Maiden, that'd be pretty decent. Oh, Whirlwind, that's actually a really good option too, because you can kill off this Sunfury Protector. Whirlwind is really interesting that it's made a cycle back, and part of the reason why I think it's really strong is because Explosive Sheep is now an option. So for 3 mana, you can do a Hellfire equivalent without even damaging your own hero. So Whirlwind is actually really, really powerful. Not to mention the synergies with Acolyte. I've seen someone on ladder run Gazlowe with that. It was like Gazlowe, Whirlwind, Execute, and I was like, whoa! And of course, he followed up by playing like Faux Reaper and Sneasel Shredder, and I completely got blown out of the water. RNG Stone at its finest. Hamlock's still not under heavy pressure, but he has to worry about the Grommash combo. He's at 17 health and there's 6 on the board, so a simple Cruel Taskmaster and Grommash can kill him. Is it safe just to drop the Molten Giant? Does he have to drop something else instead? Perhaps the Sludge Belcher, which is conveniently hiding behind the Dark Bomb. It's okay, Sludge Belcher. Don't be afraid, it's just Twitch chat. Or the Antique Healbot. That's also a possibility. I really like saving Antique Healbot for power plays with the Molten Giant, or even Jiraxis. The Antique Healbot, just dropping it because you can, doesn't feel very strong. Ooh, a Dark Bomb Shadow Flame play. So this is a way for him to try and get a little bit lower, so that way his Molten Giant doesn't cost 7. It's also a way for him to stay safe and utilize one of his 2 Shadow Flames. Very well done. Good identification there from Thunderbuddy.
I can take the hit.
Alright, well, Ragnaros would be evoking a certain type of rat that he would not want. In fact, Ragnaros is the closest thing he has to Grommash until he draws Grommash. So I like that Kunzi is holding off on it, especially since he knows his opponent has the likelihood of Siphon Soul and a big game hunter. He didn't use Big Game Hunter against his previous 7 attack threat, which was the Baron-Geddon. So there's a strong likelihood that he might have drawn it by now. And of course, dropping Molten Giant, BGH, and NT-Keelbot, and maybe even a taunt is pretty likely to just completely blow him out of the water, because he would have no response. He'd have a Shield Maiden, and he'd have an Axe. Shield Maiden is definitely a card that I would recruit if I was ever to do the Fellowship of the Rings thing. If I had to carry the ring all the way up to Mordor. I mean, she's small like a hobbit, and she can take a hit, so count her in. The Molten Giant coming into the hand here is nice, although you're still worried about the same exact thing, the threat of getting killed. So I feel like it might be an opportunity. Oh, well, you do have a Molten Giant Shadow Flame. I really thought this was 9 mana for a second. Okay, this is where the upside down thing is really discombobulating a lot of like the play theorizing here, because it's like, oh, well, Molten Giant costs 9 mana, guys. Actually costs 6, so you can Molten Shadow Flame. That feels really weak too, though. You are out of the Gromosh range. You can still do the same play by tapping and lowering the Molten Giants to 4. Or a lowercase b. Ah, so Kunzi does run Bouncing Blade. That's actually a really important removal spell on top of the Shield Slam it executes. And this is where it like starts throwing things back into like a loop for Handlock. He's going to drop down to 6 health here. Or maybe even more if he whacks with the weapon. Sure, he has 2 charges. You know, Kunzi is putting on as much pressure as he can. He's forced to play Ragnaros, otherwise he just shield block and passes, and that doesn't feel good either. This is an opportunity, though, for Thunderbuddy, excuse me, to be able to remove and play something. Unfortunately, he's just short of mana. Siphon Soul does not allow him to play any of his Sludge Belchers or his Antique Healbots. Man, that sucks. That really sucks if you're Thunderbuddy. It's like, well, here's the thing, though. You can't tap for a better play, either. Not to mention that Siphon Soul already takes 6 out of your 10 mana, but it's not like you can even tap into anything better. But the problem is, you still have 8 cards left. You want to get closer to Jiraxis and heal. Well, I mean, you're Siphon Souling, there's no question. You're not going to leave it up to fate with Ragnaros being able to flip. So it's going to be a Siphon Soul pass. Oh, sorry, with the Molten Giant, of course. Then that leaves Kunzi to use Bouncing Blades. Or if he just draws any way to do extra damage like Gromosh off the top. Oh, he gets it! Hey, he almost went for the shield block, but he knows what time it is. He cannot wait any longer, and that's going to do it for Game 2, and we have ourselves a tied series. You know, I was thinking like how many cards are remaining, but bottom, and then the scores are mixed. So we're going to be staying on MYM at the bottom. That might make it a little bit disappointing if people who are fans of vVv, but I got news for you. vVv doesn't even exist anymore. Frodan, how could you say that? It's like saying Santa Claus doesn't exist. Alright, so a Warrior Mirror match. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Alright. Well, good thing I have a full Brita filter that's been reloaded for this broadcast. Great. I'm ready. Bring it on. Armor Smith to start things off against Acolyte of Pain. Does he have a weapon? No, he does not. That is the ideal way, but I guess you can fight fire with fire and Acolyte Pain back, but that also gives the initiative to your opponent. And the bad news for Kunzi is that Thunderbuddy does have weapons. In fact, he's got 2 of them. Now, I'm really curious actually to which weapon he uses, because Deathbite actually does have a lot of practical application in this matchup. So the earlier you get it, the more control over the board you have. But then another question is, how much are you going to be able to get out of your Fiery War Axe? Like, what is it going to usually kill if you're not killing the Acolytes? A cool Taskmaster? Like, that's maybe an Armor Smith that's been weakened? half of a Sludge Belcher. Not even, because you don't even kill off the 1-2 with it. Immediately, you have to chop through the first 5 points of health and then use another Fiery War Axe. So, you know, I'm always asking these questions, and I always let the pros decide for him. Oh, well, he draws Armor Smith. That makes it even more interesting, because now he has legitimate play with Fiery War Axe and the Armor Smith. The Death Bite does challenge whatever comes out next, though, which is really nice. This is the point where I usually turn to somebody like Admirable and just let him explain for about 3 minutes of why Death's Bite was vastly superior to the Fiery War Axe, and then I nod and say, yeah, definitely. And then I try to ignore the fact that I just suggested another play that was completely opposite. I guess that's my job as a caster, just to provide different alternatives and what they mean. Death's Bite, of course, is really good answer to everything that can come out here for the next couple of turns, short of a Fell Reaver, which no one's really playing in Warrior. So, you know, being able to answer these 5 health minions gives you a pretty strong disincentive as well to play. And look at this. I believe Kunzi willingly attacked into this Acolyte and gave him a draw. Oh gosh, they don't give a hand counter, so I have to count this manually. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. I declare a thumb war. 8 cards. All right. So Thunderbuddy draws Dr. Boom. This card is awesome. I saw Kit Kats and a few other people playing with it yesterday. And Strifecrow has also been a big fan of this card. Dr. Boom is really cool, especially with the Warrior synergies of Whirlwind. Yes, that's right. I also saw Crip playing this card too. It's got so much synergy, and it's like a more sturdy version of Barongeddon. I mean, it's still vulnerable to BGH, but the 5 versus 7 health is such a massive difference. So yeah, I guess he's really contemplating whether or not he wants to drop Sludge Belcher, but I don't really think there's any question about it. Thunderbuddy ropes very often, I find. That's got to be a little bit tilting. Personally, for me, if I was playing against, I'm just like, well, what's there to think about? Sludge Belcher's the optimal play on turn 5. Pretty sure this is what the people wanted, by the way. What now? Frodan, the meta is too fast. We need things to be more slow and control-oriented. You brought this upon yourselves, Hearthstone community. Warrior vs. Warrior. That said, I actually do enjoy the pace of how control matches can break up the aggro, even mid-range. It's pretty nice. So Sylvanas to try and impact the board. Although, I'm not sure how much of a difference this will make. In fact, it gives him an opportunity to get rid of Sylvanas pretty easily, and only giving up a Sludge Belcher. Say you trade in the Sludge Belcher, and I mean, you can pretty much just deal with whatever. You just give him the 1-2 slime, but you're able to deal with it pretty easily. See, well, in the meantime, he draws another Acolyte of Pain, so that's also another draw potential. Of course, you want to deal with Sylvanas first. If he didn't have Sylvanas, then the natural play is to drop the Shield Maiden and try to go from there. But Thunderbuddy does have to deal with the Sylvanas somehow. So let's see what happens. If he attacks the Sylvanas because of 5-2, and then attacks the Acolyte into the Sylvanas and draws a card, and then kills off the Armor Smith, you leave your opponent with with 8 armor, I think. And then you give him a 1-1 Sludge. I think that's not that bad of a deal, honestly. I think you gotta go for this. Oh, here's one thing though. Sludge Belcher animations do take a while, and he still has to drop it. There's only a few seconds left. Did Thunderbuddy rope too long here? Oh? Nah, he's alright. And dropping the Shield Maiden is fine. Hey, remember when I said that Kunzi would have 8 armor at the end of stuff? I was testing you guys. You all passed. Well done. Death's Bite, one of the better draws we could have gotten here at the moment. I'm actually curious to see if anyone's playing Bomb Lobber anymore. Because Bomb Lobber also is like a decent response that's relatively on curve. Alexstrasza coming into hand for Thunderbuddy. There's an opportunity to be slightly more aggressive if you're Thunderbuddy, based off the cards. A lot of the cards here, once again, from Kunzi, it seems to be the story of his entire series, that he's extremely reactive to his opponent. Bouncing Blade, Execute, Slam, they're all responsive cards. The only thing that can present a problem is the Shield Maiden. Sludge Belcher, kind of. It's a little bit susceptible to the inevitable Black Knights and like the Fiery War Axe. Versus Dr. Boom, Alexstrasza, and it's got ways to cycle through to either more powerful cards. This might be an opportunity for Thunderbuddy if he can plan out his next couple turns to try and be slightly more aggressive. Now, instead of dropping Dr. Boom, he opts to go for a very defensive and passive route, though. And this is because of the Death Bite. The Death Bite, if it activated the Boom Bots, which I believe are the 1/1s, then he would have gotten damage straight here, and Alexstrasza's effect would have been wasted. So this is a very good play. Slam to draw a card, but it also activates for the Acolyte. Look at that power draw, too, from the Ragnaros. So Kunzi's going to be under a lot of pressure soon if Thunderbuddy chooses to flip the switch here. Sludge Belcher is problematic enough where it's still so annoying. Like, even GVG comes out, and I'm still in awe of what Sludge Belcher can do to completely throw off opponents of the game plan. Like, it's just so inconvenient to deal with. How do you get rid of this 3/5 body? Ugh. I also get grossed out the more I look at it too. Sludge is definitely a butterface, if I've ever seen one. But that body. Thunderbuddy picked up his own Sludge Belcher. Does he feel like he can get away with just dropping like a big bomb here like Ragnaros? I don't think so. You can slam and chop this down. But if you slam and chop it down with the War Axe, you can't Sludge Belcher. Of course, one of the best answers to Sludge Belcher is Sludge Belcher. Like, Sludge Belcher actually takes 4 times of trading in order to kill itself. Just goes to show you that usually the best counter to something is itself, right? The best counter to Hunter is Hunter. Or oftentimes, like, the best counter to, like, Zoo is, like, a Soulfire tempo play, but at least in the past. Not in this scenario. Well, this is a hand that actually is pretty poor for Kunzi. The fact that he's got Whirlwinds, I mean, they're going to be cycling and drawing, but it's like it doesn't take anything proactively. He's already used both of his Death Spite as well, right? Nope, that's actually the Thunderbuddy used one of them, so misread and misspoke. Picks up Fiery War Axe. So I guess he's just gonna Whirlwind again, draw another card. It's fine. Like, Whirlwind's effectively like it's effectively like a flare type of card right here. It's just a cycle, nothing else. Weakens your board a little bit, but that's not what you're too concerned about. Now here's an interesting opportunity to drop Ragnaros and just to shred armor and see what removal your opponent has. Is it an opportunity to also drop Dr. Boom for just like more mana efficient play with hero power? Let's see. I actually was not prepared to cast Upside Down today. The blood rushing to my head is really hard to deal with. I'm trying to think of a better play. Maybe Dr. Boom is actually not so bad. Because you take initiative on the board, your opponent doesn't have like a... He just used both Whirlwinds too. So like, the Boombot effect won't be so bad. It'll be like a Shield Slam bait, so that way Alexstrasza and Ragnaros is a little bit better. Ragnaros seems like just such a perfect fit though. It's 8 armor, so you're not going to be intruding on the health. it costs more mana, so it just gets increasingly more difficult to play him compared to Dr. Boom. And don't think that 1 mana doesn't make a difference. That 1 mana is an opportunity to play Execute or Shield Slam. Well, Bouncing Blade gonna do some work here, for sure. Ping, 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 ping. And then Kunzi just gonna pass. There's nothing else to do. Explosive Sheep on an empty board actually has no value whatsoever. In fact, I'm questioning whether or not Explosive Sheep has value in this matchup at all, short of like a double Explosive Sheep play. But then again, how much value are you getting out of that? These control mirrors, resource advantage is such a powerful tool, whether it's cards or just being able to outtempo your opponent. Explosive Sheep doesn't really seem like it'd be really good for that. So, you set the stage for an Alexstrasza play. You shredded his armor, so now he has to have Execute, but the bad news is that he has a weapon, so he still is able to proc that Execute. Usually you want to drop Alexstrasza ideally when your opponent has nothing at their disposal that you can see to deal with it. They just have to have the Execute. Also, fortunately for Kunzi, he has a cool Taskmaster, so he doesn't actually need to use his weapon whatsoever to proc it. In that case, well, Dr. Boom's still, again, a little bit less effective if you have Alexstrasza in the hand. But it's just a tester. See what the opponent has. He has an Execute. He also can respond with man mode and trying to rag in response, but I think the Execute's just a much stronger play. After you Execute with the cool Taskmaster, you also have the availability of playing the Shield Maiden. So, there you go. Dr. Boom actually drawing out removal, which is what you want to do. But in the back of your mind, you've used Bouncing Blade, you've used Executes. You're only, like, a couple more threats that get dropped down, and you won't have an answer to it. You're going to have to rely on your minions to remove, like Ragnaros and Gromosh. Now, the good news is that Kunzi's opponent, Thunderbuddy, is actually running out of threats legitimately. He's only got Alexstrasza remaining, and he doesn't have any. Oh, he has Lotheb. Excuse me. Okay, so he's just got a couple of threats remaining. He's just got more answers. So the tables have flipped. In the past, it was Thunderbuddy who had the threats and Kunzi with the answers, and now, because we've gotten a lot further into the deck, the second act, if you will, the second act of cards. Gave Kunzi the aggressive tools and Vampy to be defensive. How poetic. Oh, this is cute. What if you attacked into Lotheb, played Explosive Sheep? Actually, that's just bad. I was like, play Explosive Sheep and then Baron Geddon. Because then if it misses and it hits the face, an Explosive Sheep actually damages your own Baron Geddon, and then leave an option for your opponent to Fiery War Axe it. Yeah, I like this play a lot better after analysis. Ragnaros to drop it down. Either targets, you want to hit the Lotheb, but either target wouldn't have really mattered in the long run because would have been able to remove easily with a Shield Slam. This Ragnaros is just nothing more than just a 8 mana, 8 damage spell, which I don't think anything's in the game equivalent to it. I guess 8 mana King Crush to the face. Which honestly should be what King Crush costs. I mean, there's really no point of having King Crush at 9 mana. So, if he Shield Slams his Ragnaros, War Axes is down. Oh, he's wondering if he Alexstrasza as well. So if you Shield Slam this, you can Alexstrasza and start pressuring. I think you want to take out this cool Taskmaster, so that way he can't execute your Alexstrasza easily. And the 2 armor is not that big of a difference. Or is it? Okay, well he's just going to go really aggressive here. I guess since he has weapons, he's perfectly fine with it. And he doesn't want to miss that 5 damage. You know, and to be honest, that's a really big deal to put him down at 12 compared to just 17. So I like that Thunderbuddy's being aggressive again. And I've been told by so many Warrior players that the person who's more aggressive in this matchup is the one that's usually at a large advantage for the majority of the game. I mean, it doesn't always work out, but being aggressive in the Warrior Mirror does pay off most of the time.
I can take the hit.
Alright, Shield Maiden being pretty clutch, bouncing back up to 19 health, so he's clearly out of range, short of any inner rage shenanigans with the cool Taskmaster. But fortunately, there's a perfect response. Slam, Fiery War Axe, or even using the cool Taskmaster and Death Bite, but I think Slam is just much more efficient. Getting closer to Gromosh is better. Ooh, and Baron Geddon comes into hand. That's another pretty strong, significant threat that Kunzi has to deal with. I mean, the fact is, Alex Raza has been used, and Kunzi is taking damage. He's losing his armor, and he needs a way to respond to this Lotheb. And because of the way things have panned out, not attacking that cool Taskmaster was so smart, because of looking how your opponent would be able to deal with it, he would have been able to Fiery War Axe, chop it down. Trogzor. Does Trogzor make a significant impact right now? You're so worried about dying. A lot of players love this card. I even like this card because it's just like, how do you deal with this? Because your opponent just summons a 3/5 for, and it's just so effective every time they cast a spell. I don't really think Trogzor has a place right now, other than warming the bench. Oh, get wrecked, Trogzor. Oh boy. Oh boy, he motioned as if he needs to chop down this, chop down with the axe. Oh man, that doesn't feel good. He's just got to do something. And the good news is that Cool Taskmaster and Gromosh is only 20 points of damage, and 9 plus 12 is 21. So, if he had Gromosh, he'd be 1 point damage off lethal, but he doesn't even have Gromosh in hand. In fact, Gromosh is in the last 5 remaining cards for Thunderbuddy. That's pretty unfortunate. Your finisher, your big ending bomb, is not in the hand. It's also in the final 5 cards. And I'm pretty sure he's running Gromosh. Like, anyone who's like, what if he's not running Gromosh, dude? You don't know. Yes, I know. Shut up, random internet stranger. He is running Gromosh. And you too, voice in my head, shut up. He is running Gromosh. How much pressure will it take for this teapot called Kunzi to pop? I mean, pretty soon he's at the threshold breaking point where he needs something big. Like, does he run a big game hunter? Does he have Brawl in his deck? Because Brawl is also a card I've seen being cut from time to time. Oh, there's the Brawl. And there's an Armor Smith. Ooh, and an Explosive Sheep. Oh, so that's what Explosive Sheep could be used for in this matchup. There you go. Whatever comes out, he will be able to chop down. But Armor Smith wins the Brawl. Was there any ever doubt? Was there ever any doubt who would win that Brawl? Not from me. So Shield Maiden presents just like it's like his only minion to play here, so there's nothing else to do. Thankfully, it's not a Death Spite that's on 1 charge, so the Shield Maiden won't just drop. Basically, at this stage, it's when will Gromosh come? And if Gromosh comes, will it be in time for me to kill my opponent? You have to Death Spite and hit the face here, put him at 12. And of course, you do have Cool Taskmaster. You know what's one thing that's really nice about this Death Spite attack is that Kunzi might be thinking about the 10 points of damage generated from the Death Spite. And then somewhere in the back of his mind, he might not be considering the Cool Taskmaster as the activator. So he might be calculating for 10 and not 12 points of damage. Regardless, he is still in a really tough spot because the only way to deal with these the Shield Maiden is to take a little bit of damage somehow. Oh boy, do you have to Baron get in here? No, Baron Geddon puts you at such a low HP. But you can't kill it off with Gromosh. And Trogzor is just a vanilla 6/6 at this stage. Oh man. Yeah, you're going to be taking the hit. You have to armor up. You can't play Baron Geddon because it also does damage right back to you. Gromosh is your best chance, but this is where Execute can come and play. Or, oh, never mind. Gromosh can also just end the game straight up as well. And you don't even need to activate it. He only has 9 health. Nope, never mind. You do need to activate it. But you didn't execute your opponent's Gromosh. That is a fail BM. Thunderbuddy takes a 2-1 series lead, but definitely needs to figure out the way he wants to end games. Not a fan of that one. Alright, well done, Thunderbuddy, though. He's up 2-1, and we're going to go into game number 4. Thankfully, the Warrior Mirror is done. Because that one's a long one, guys. I'm going to fix the score real quick on the overlay as we get ready for game number 4. This is a best of 5, and these guys really want to win because they don't want to work for 9 months just to get destroyed at the finish line. That would just feel awful, so count on these guys to fight really hard. Kunzi's going to go with Druid. I like it. He has Wild Growth in his hand. That's great. I wonder if this is the mech Druid that I've been seeing. Okay, you know what? When I back up, Frodan. When I say mech Druid, I mean the Druids that run the piloted Shredders, the Sneasel Shredders, the autopilots in general. Like, those cards are super powerful just because you can ramp to them really easily. And then Druid has such sticky minions that it's almost the same effect as playing Cairn. The reason why Cairn fits so well into like a double combo Druid was because not only could you ramp to like 6 mana really quickly with Innervates and Wild Growth, but also because it's such a hard minion to remove. And you just plop down these minions with Death Rattles, and you still have like the ability to combo and have whatever drops. Even if it's like a Nat Pagel, it still does 2 damage on top of the 14. Of course, it could be just standard run-of-the-mill aggro Druid where you have like the really fast 2 combos and just Haunted Creepers and Shade of Naxxramas. But where's the sex appeal in that, I ask you? Oh, well, perfect response to the Acolyte Plane. You can silence him. That's pretty much what you want to do. Ah, okay. Wrathing to just deny it as well. So then the Keeper of the Grove will be kept more as utility to deal with some of the other threats. I would have liked to keep a 2/4 on the body on the board as well, but I suppose the Keeper of the Grove does get challenged by a simple Fiery War Axe, whereas the next minion will be really hard to deal with. Spectre Knight coming into hand. So Spectre Knight will be super problematic unless there's a minion that was drawn, and there is none because Sylvanas was the card that was drawn for Thunderbuddy. So how do you deal with the Spectre Knight now? You have to take 12 damage from this thing, whether through weapons or through other means. And this is another case where putting out Deathbite is not exactly the answer here because Fiery War Axe chops down more efficiently and you can keep armoring up, but at the same time Deathbite challenges whatever comes out next. So you can Deathbite and then Cruel Taskmaster this Spectre Knight. You also have the opportunity to innervate out something for the Druid, or you can play Druid the Claw, play a little bit more mana efficient, and save this innervate for whatever comes out in the next couple turns. Ooh. This is, again, very problematic. He needs a Whirlwind. No, but he has double Cruel Taskmaster, so that actually works out okay. Double Cruel Taskmaster will be able to clear this board. Okay, so then how does Warrior deal with the Trogzor. He's gonna have to give him a 3-5 to some capacity. I guess this is technically part of Token Druid. Like, Trogzor creates tokens and stuff. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. For now, the Ancient of Lore seems like its best course of action. Fiery War Axe can chop it down pretty easily, though. But in the end, all that matters is that Warrior is losing health. And we do have one piece of the combo already for Druid. This is a really tough matchup for Warrior to win. Even post GBG, from my experience. I played some Warrior, and Druid still gave me a really hard time. This is reminiscent of, I want to say, RDU's Druid. RDU also had Trogzor and a few really sticky minions. I love the mechanical Yeti, by the way. The spare part sometimes is so helpful, especially the stealth cloaking field that that just cloaks one minion for a turn, so that your combo is going to be guaranteed to do more than 14 damage to some capacity, assuming your opponent doesn't have like a way to kill it with some randomized damage. This just feels so bad. You don't. Your hand is actually so clunky from Thunderbuddy, Alex Straza, Ragnaros, and Dr. Boom. If he had Gromosh, he actually has the 4 most expensive cards in his deck. That's not what you want to start off the game. It's only been 4, 5, 6 turns. And you're already at, well, less than half health, and you had to armor up to get there. Huh. He's hovering over Yeti, so I guess he just wants to go for a mana-efficient play as opposed to tempo. I would have enjoyed seeing, like, Trogzor come out soon. Wants to get close to the combo. I can respect that. But I generally like putting out the bigger threats versus Warrior when they have no board. I guess he wants this Yeti to also bait out the Execute or a Shield Slam if he has it. Like if he has Shield Maiden Shield Slam on turn 7, which is commonly what they can do, this is the time to use it. So it's like, even if he has Trogzor and a way to remove it, he has to use it now if he wants to deal with this Yeti. That's the plan. This is actually pretty annoying. I mean, everything you do, if you like Dr. Boom it, you're just gonna die to combo. There's actually no way to play around combo, is there? Oh, there is. You can Whirlwind Execute. Oh gosh. Whirlwind Execute pass or Shield Slam Execute pass? Wow, that feels so bad. I mean, he doesn't have the combo, but you don't know that. He's gonna be on 9 mana soon. Oh, that sucks. Gosh. And if you're Kunzi, wow, you're so happy that he just armored up and passed. Like nothing ever happened. Time Rewinder is also interesting. I wonder if there's any synergy there. Oh, Harrison Jones, hello. Drew the Claw. Harrison Jones is just so good. It's a 5/4. And then you can still charge Drew the Claw out. You can even play Shaded next, Rammus. Let's see what you draw first. You might even get 2 Shades. Ooh, Yeti is also nice too. It fits the curve. Innervate's already lost a lot of its lusciousness, so to speak. Like, usually the Innervate can grab such a big tempo play early on that, you know, Warrior struggles and loses a lot of health. Oh, dude. You know, I remember how I said he drew the 4 most expensive cards in his deck if he had Gromosh? Well, 13 cards in. 4 out of the 5. Actually, he has Dr. Boom. 5 out of the 30 cards that are super expensive in his deck have come in the first 12 to 13. That's pretty unfortunate for Thunderbuddy. Sylvanas' best chance to answer this Yeti. The reality is, you might as well play Dr. Boom. Oh, okay, he has the Rusty Horn. Nice. Give the minion a taunt. He's playing around combo again. I was gonna say, if the reality is, if you can't play around combo, you just have to play the biggest threat minion you have. And that's Dr. Boom. Keeper of the Grove comes in here, silences Sylvanas, and that's just not going to stop the damage whatsoever. Kunzi can keep on pushing damage. I expect a charge out of the Druid of the Claw. Yeah. I mean, you can innervate Shade out too. The thing is, I guess, are you afraid of Brawl? But if, here's another question. If he Brawls, does it even matter? How about if you innervate Shade, and then you return, or you can even return this Druid of the Claw to the hand so that you have damage next turn too, because then you have Force of Nature plus innervate Druid of the Claw. These are like interesting plays that open up because of this spare part. It's very fascinating. I think spare part is one of the most exciting things about the new expansion, because I think it opens up worlds of plays that people don't really expect. Like, for example, one of my favorite things about Rusty Horn is that you can use it on an enemy minion. So say like he had like a taunt, like a Druid of the Claw taunt here instead, and you really want to pick up an easy trade on the Keeper of the Grove, you can taunt that minion offensively and kill it. It's very cute stuff. Is there any way to survive and play around combo this turn, by the way, if you're a warrior? I don't think so. Your best way to gain health is actually to Alexstrasza yourself, but that doesn't guarantee anything. You can try to fish for a spare part. Ooh, freeze minion actually could be really useful. Emphasis on could be, though. Keep in mind that it's as simple as silencing a minion if you freeze it, and then Druid can still utilize. So he opts to take out the more attack minion just in the off chance that your opponent does have a silence, like a second Keeper of the Grove. 6, 7 damage. Oh, wait. You can return this to your hand. Wait, does he have lethal with all these innervates? So if he attacks face with 6, returns this to hand, blasts him for 2 more. Oh wait, I'm overthinking it. You can rewind it. You can rewind a charger, of course. That's really cute stuff, and that's gonna do it for game number 4, and that's gonna tie it up once again. Like we were saying, that this time rewinder opens up a lot of interesting plays, for sure. And he didn't even actually need to innervate out this tree ant. But I like it. It's a little bit of a flashy play. Could have also innervated out the Shade. Wouldn't have been mad about that. Lock, so it's not that great that I have to go into game 5 without a clear advantage. But at the same time, he has Shaman, so Shaman can do some funny things, especially in the new one. I've been seeing some really powerful early mid-game plays with Power Mace and Arcane Nullifier. Like, that card combination is pretty strong. Just think about it. Like, it's a 4/7 with spell immunity and like it can't be targeted by hero powers, and the fact that it has taunt, so it's like you have to deal with it, and then you have like a weapon that's able to control the board early on. I don't know if that's exactly the play here. Maybe Thunderbuddy's playing just a standard mid-range shaman with some cool cards. Is it a Murloc shaman?
The light protects.
Oh, Ardent Squire heavily implies that it's aggressive, at least for the board control. Ardent Squire used to be like a include into Shaman, so that way you can utilize Rockbiter and Flame Tongue Totem against early game minions like Voidwalker and Flame Imp. But that was once upon a time. I believe during that time too, some players opted to use Pyromancer as an opportunity to clear the board against opponents too. That was before people discovered the goodness that is Haunted Creeper. Okay, so Echoing Ooze. I want to say that this is a Bloodlust Shaman deck with Sea Giants in it. That's got to be the answer here, right? I mean, I could be wrong. Oh, wait. Why am I spectating as if I can't see his cards? I'm, like, surprised every movie mix. Here we go. Okay, so he does have Mech in his deck. He's got a Noyotron, and he's running Doomhammer instead of Bloodlust. Maybe he has both, but Doomhammer is often the finisher of choice over Bloodlust. It would just make sense given how many tokens he has. So thinking about playing a Noyotron over Hero Power, I can agree with that. You want to save your as many bodies as you can from the Hero Power of Druid. Not going to stop Kunzi from making a board impacting play, though. Coin is at his disposal. His hand is really clunky. He would have loved to pick up Innervate of some kind to piece together some response. So this play to attack Divine Shield to set up a strong swipe, potentially. But, Defender of Argus. Whoa, that is a big draw. That is such a big deal. Oh man, now you can set up like a pretty reasonable amount of power on the board. That's what, 8 power? And Druid has to answer this. Like you just don't ever think that these 1 and 2 attack creatures can pile up to be much, but it does stack very quickly. I mean, just think about it. He's got Rockbiter and Doomhammer. That's 10 damage in the hand in 1 turn. So in 2 turns, effectively, if Kunzi doesn't deal with this, like say he plays this really slow, like Druid the Claw, and then he gets hexed. And then if that, from that point on, he just takes a lot of damage, and then Doomhammer just finishes the game. This is potentially a very fast game number 5. And a little sad, because it's like, well, I want to see what other cards are in here. Is there Mech Warper? Hobgoblin? What? I mean, it makes sense. You play Hobgoblin Echoing Ooze and you summon 3/4s. We play Annoyatron and it becomes a 3/4. Okay. That does make sense. It doesn't work with totems though. So if you play Hobgoblin and you summon a Searing Totem for 1/1, it doesn't become a 3/3. Definitely on the more curious side of things, for sure. Alright, well, on to more important things. Does he play Doomhammer this turn? I want to say yes. I think Doomhammer is awesome in this spot. You're going to be overloaded, sure. But you also are pushing a lot of damage, and like you also have the opportunity to just lethal in the next couple turns, too. You have Hex to get through whatever taunt he sets up. Yeah, I say you go ham. Put him down at 10 health. Slam him. Well, Kunzi here has to be really defensive. Most likely play this Druid of the Claw in taunt mode. Maybe also Wrath a creature. Just needs to take off as much pressure off the board as possible. Is there a better play though with Swipe? No, you have to be super defensive. You might die just to Doomhammer. Was there any merit to playing Loatheb? No, because you need the ability to stop these creatures from doing damage as well. Loatheb only stops the Rockbiter from being able to be effective. Or not even, because you would have... Oh my god! Whoa, well, he's got it already. He's got the Doomhammer and double Rockbiter. The second one didn't even really matter. That's going to do it for game number 5. And, well, overall, that was a really quick game, and Shaman was able to turn on the pressure. Just look at how much damage these early game tokens were able to amount to. And, of course, having the Doomhammer and Rockbiter combination was lethal. So, first series goes over to vVv, and the reunion tour for vVv is starting off very nicely. MYM is, they're the more established team. They have RDU, they have Tice, they have some tournament winners, but for now, they're the ones at a serious disadvantage. And vVv just has to win 2 more in order to call themselves the Gentleman Cup champions, which is really what matters.